Freaking A. How's it going, viewer? Corey here. I honestly really don't know what to say. I don't know where to start with this. It's been a few months since I've read this book, and I haven't even uploaded all the videos yet. I was in the process of uploading the rest of them, and I figured out, sometimes Corey blends words like figured and found, so it sounds like found. Found out chapter 17 wasn't up, and this one is called To Love Always is to Be Young Always. And I'm here reading from our book, How to Stay Young by Christian D. Larson, and I just need to remember that I'm not here to be perfect, because I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. I am God's creation, and only God is perfect, and we are here to serve our Father. I'm recently recovering from an addiction. I had a very bad marijuana addiction, and you know what? I found out that that's perfectly fine, because now when we look at the world and where we are today, now that marijuana is legal here in the West, and just watching people, and just people are doing it more and more, and now it's readily more available, and now it's more accepted, and it's like, it's making people more lazy, lazier in thought, lazier in action, lazier in their production, and this laziness is interfering with the production of us as the masses, and because we're all here to serve each other, and we're all here for each other. And you know what, I look back at it, and I'm honestly absolutely very disgusted at myself that that was something that I had lived in, and that was something that I had done, and especially because of how much it interfered with my progress. We're here to do something amazing, and we're here to do something different. Because we were born to be entirely new, and that's what our Father had created us for. Because God, the infinite mind, the spiritual infinite cosmic intelligence that penetrates, permeates, and fills the interspaces of this entire universe, this world. You know, the reason why you could actually hear me speak, and these vibrations are being recorded by this computer, is because the space between me and this computer and the microphone is filled with the living essence, a mind, and intelligence. And as I create these vibrations with my Visuddha chakra, these vibrations are traveling along the ether in the form of vibration, and it is being picked up by your ear, which in turn you are depicting within your own consciousness, your own spiritual center of intelligence. You know what, right now I am fed up, I am pissed, because my generation is absolutely lost. This entire world is completely upside down. Jesus the Messiah was a man. He was a manifestation of God, and so are all people. He was not God. He was a God-man, and we are all God-men. We all have the power to co-create with our Father. I believe it is absolutely absurd that God would have one anointed son. I believe firmly in Jesus Christ, and I believe that He was our brother. People are worshiping Him to be God, but a really good friend of mine, and I have a lot of respect for them, you know, when I go to the churches, and it's like, no, they're not entirely right. Because even in the Bible, Jesus had prayed to God, and He referred to Himself as the Son of Man. And there was a lot of people that He didn't heal because they didn't believe and they didn't have faith. We all know about the placebo effect today, that the person is given a fake treatment and they believe that they're going to be okay, and then they get healed. They're healed by their own belief. They're healed by their own mind. They're healed by their own faith. because they enter into that state of vibration within their own consciousness. And remember, our body is the exact expression of what is happening within our mind. And when we raise our personal vibrations, when we raise our mental states to higher planes of consciousness, our body and all of our cells are going to follow. You can feel when somebody is alive. You can feel their energy. You can see it. With that, let's go ahead and get through this chapter, because Corey delayed his progress long enough. You know what? Things are getting worse, and it's time to move forward. And it's time to fulfill what we know we have been created to do. So, Chapter 17 of How to Stay Young by Christian D. Larson. To love always is to be young always. To perpetuate the youth of the personality, a full expression of life is necessary, and to promote this expression, the power of love must be constant and strong. To stay young, it is necessary to live, and to live, it is necessary to live more. When the power of life ceases to increase, it will begin to decrease, and the decrease of life is one of the chief causes of old age. To prevent this decrease, however, it is only necessary to love always, to permeate the entire human system with the interior actions of a perfect love. And what was Jesus' main point in teaching was that of love. Because when we love, we are operating from a higher state of consciousness, high levels of vibrations. You know what? I'm still in the process of forgiving myself and learning to really love myself. You know what? I do love myself. And you know what? It's okay to be frustrated, and it's okay to be mad, especially when you see your own fellow brothers and sisters when they have no conception or realization of their own consciousness. And the fact that our thoughts are things, and when they're thinking negative and they're darting their negative energies at you, and you're just totally aware of what they're doing, and they have no idea, it pisses me off. Because it's my responsibility to change it. The action of the love principle not only perpetuates the increase of life, but it also tends to bring forth into expression the newness of real life. The reason for this is found in the fact that the actions of both love will arouse more creative energy, both in the body and in the mind, than any other action, and to increase the power of creative energy is to promote recreation. And it's amazing that he says that too, because when you're actually engaging in activities that you love to do, and that you're actually passionate about, you come alive. And I realize that I'm a speaker, and I really come alive when I speak. I love to talk. My dream is to be a public speaker, and to be on stage and spreading truth and life and wisdom, and to lead people. Because we need a world of more leaders and more geniuses. Albert Einstein said we are all born geniuses, but this world will turn us into freaking idiots. And how true is that? I grew up in front of a TV. I grew up playing video games. I grew up eating crap and unhealthy. And I had to do what I needed to do to educate myself, to learn how to understand. Our educational system has failed us. And I'm going to create the best school on this entire planet, because it's going to teach of the body, and it's going to teach of the mind, and it's going to teach of the soul, the spiritual intelligence of man, and the fact that we are all created in God's image, and we are all given a portion of God's mind, and we all have the power to co-create with this universal intelligence. Those creative energies that are awakened by the power of love always tends to create the ideal, because the tendency of love is towards the ideal. Therefore, when the power of love is strong in the human system, there will be a strong tendency to reproduce the entire system in the likeness of the ideal. To change into the likeness of the ideal is to change from the old to the new, In consequence, the elements of youth will perpetuate their existence. To dwell in the life of a true marriage will aid remarkably in the perpetuation of youth, not because the actions of sex has any power to perpetuate youth, but because a true marriage tends to increase the expression of a higher and a higher quality of life. And we know how hard it is to really find a partner nowadays. You know, I've been single for the longest time, and something happened today that made me realize that I'm not even really too sure if I want a companion, and I'm not even too sure if one even really exists out there for me. The expression of love, however, will not by itself perpetuate the youth of the personality. The other principles of scientific thought and action must also be applied, but a strong, high, ever-growing love nature is one of the fundamental essentials. Those who have not a companion with whom to unite in a true marriage should express their love in universal friendships, and all the creative energies that are generated in their systems should be transmuted into forces of ability, talent, genius, and forces of personal expression. And it's funny that he brings that up, because that is what has been in my mind. I just need to be more friends with people, and I need to hang out with people more. Love is hard to find, because it is not something that you just find, it is something that you work at. That is, their energy should be trained to develop extraordinary powers of mind and a highly organized personality. To transmute the creative energies of the system, attention should be directed upon the finer forces whenever creative energies are strongly felt in the system. These finer forces permeate every part of the system and act through the finer substance of the personality. To direct attention upon these finer forces and desire to draw all the creative energies of the system into the world of the finer forces will cause the creative energies to change their vibrations and begin to act in the field of the finer forces. And I like how he says that, because viewer, listener, creator, I want you to really focus and look at me, because I'm doing this. This is my leadership journey, and I'm sharing my leadership journey with you so you can see my progress and quite possibly inspired to do the same for you, because we're all here to grow, and we're all here to grow into higher states of consciousness, because that's what life is. Life is consciousness. The inner man in this vessel is nothing but a chemical system of which my vibratory mind system has complete operation over. You know, it's amazing, because as you look through the history and all the Descartes, man, there were so many different people and so many different conflicts between is mind and body connected with each other? Are they separated from each other? Are they, but they're both. Because when let's stay focused, Corey. Let's read, because you know what? You're still learning. I'm still learning, and this is my leadership journey. And we're here to learn facts over opinions. And all the facts are out there. The facts are out there. When the creative energies begin to act in the field of the finer forces, the creative power of the personality will begin to express itself in every cell of body and brain, and development will be greatly promoted both in the mentality and the personality. In consequence, those forces that were simply perpetuating creative desire will begin to work for the recreation of everything in the being of man. To cause the creative energies to recreate the personality, the vibrations of those energies must be refined, because no force can be turned into a new creative channel until it is refined. That is, taking back into its original creative state. And that's interesting that he says that, because I stopped smoking weed and my life got better. And you know what? When I did, everything became so clear. I remembered what was truly important in my life. And I feel like my The vibrations of my mind were more refined. I can see things better. I could see people more clear. I can see the energies and the aura around people, and you can see their intentions, and you can feel their feelings, because it is consciousness. It is a force. Okay, where was I? No worries. Less perfection, more authenticity, because I am not perfect. And I refuse to pretend like I am. To cause the creative energies to recreate the personality, the vibrations of those energies must be refined, because no force can be turned into a new creative channel until it is refined, that is, taking back into its original creative state. All creative energies proceed from the original creative state. Therefore, it is readily understood why they have been drawn back to that state before they can proceed with creative work of another nature. To take active creative energy back to its original state is called transmutation, and is promoted by drawing the active creative energy into the field of the finer forces. When this is done, the new energies will follow the directions of desire. That is, all transmuted energy will immediately proceed to do what the mind at the time may desire to have done, though this desire must be strong, positive, and clearly defined. When the creative energy of the system has been transmuted, the mind, through its original positive desire, may cause that energy to rebuild the entire personality, because we become what we think about, and our personality is an exact replica of that which we are thinking. We could change our personality by changing our own thinking paradigm, our thinking patterns. And remember what we learned about the brain. The brain is our tool. It is an embryonic world that literally changes its structure to whatever it is that you're choosing to think. You choose. And I'm really sorry if I'm coming off strong right now. It's my choleric personality coming back. I have been very melancholy for a long time. And you know what? I am very upset about that. Because to me, I feel like I fell behind in a lot of things, and I have some catching up to do. When the creative energy of the system has been transmuted, the mind, through its positive desire, may cause that energy to rebuild the entire personality. In this manner, the creative energies may be trained to work in perfect harmony with the law of perpetual renewal. And as the transmuted energies are always finer, their ordinary physical vitality, the personality will not only be constantly renewed, but it will become a finer, a more highly developed, and a more highly organized personality every time it has been renewed. The actions of a strong, constant love will awaken all the creative energies that are latent in the system, and through the process of transmutation, these energies can be turned into any channel in the human system where a higher development is desired. Now, mental transmutation is changing your mental states from one state to another. You're changing your energies, your inner energies. These are real things. And as you change from the within, the outside will change. Because remember, we then become surrounded by our own thoughts made into material things. The desire, however, that is to govern these energies must have great depth of feeling, and must invariably have higher attainments to its goal. And so long as these forces are rebuilding, recreating, and refining the human system, old age is absolutely impossible. To employ the power of love to the greatest possible advantage, the actions of love should be universal. That is, we should love everything and everybody in its largest, highest, and most perfect sense. But in the expression of this complete love, the real alone should receive attention. The attitude of the true love is to ignore deficiencies. It gives thought only to the greatness and the divinity that constitute the real of everything, and to that which it gives thought it also gives love, all the love that can possibly be awakened in the fullness of heart and soul. The great mind always loves much. In fact, No mind can become great unless it does love much. It is the power of love that awakens the powers of greatness, and these powers grow in greatness according to the greatness of the love. To increase the power of greatness, it is therefore necessary to love more, but no mind can love more unless it begins to love everything. And no mind can love everything unless it transcends to the love of the soul. What Jesus did was absolutely amazing. And I believe that is possible for all of us. You know what? He didn't reach his point till he was about 30. You're only 23, Corey. You still have many, many, many years and lots of work to do. So you know what? Don't be afraid to keep going. Don't be afraid to put yourself on camera. And don't be afraid to show the world. You know, I was looking at my old videos while I was putting them up, and I was a little bit embarrassed. I was a little embarrassed by that, Corey. You know, I know it's going to be the same when I look back at these videos a year from now. Maybe even 3 to 5 months from now. You know what, we'll definitely see. To promote the expression of the transcendent soul love, there is no phase of the personal love that need be eliminated. All love is true love in its own sphere, but all love should be given expression, and that expression should be animated with the strongest and most tender feeling that the very soul of life can possibly awaken. The power of love should be expressed in all its fullness through every channel, but its tendency should never be upward. The eyes of love should always be turned towards the beautiful, the ideal, and the divine that we all have discerned in man's transcending nature. When we love persons and things, we should love our highest idealizations of those persons and things. And when we love the ideal itself, the mind should turn its vision upon the highest heights that our most sublime moments can possibly picture. The best, the truest, and the most beautiful, that must be the goal of love. When love loves, as love is created to love, it is evident that youth must ever remain, because when the fires of love are ever at white heat, all the debris of age, weakness, decay, imperfection, disease, and impurity will be completely consumed, and the personality of every person will ever be as clean, as young, and as vigorous as that of the pure and wholesome child. The power of love will consume everything that is not as pure as love, and the same power will give the limitless life to everything, because love is the life of all life. When the being of man is spotless and clean through and through, completely filled with the fullness of life, the elements of youth will develop in man in greater and greater measures. Therefore, to love always is to be young always. Now that is the end of that chapter. And you know what? Corey still has a lot of work to do, because I'm on my mission right now to be one of the greatest life coaches and one of the greatest leaders in this entire planet. That is your destiny, Corey. And I am ticked off. Because the world needs us, and you've been wasting your time. Unless you're sick, unless you have cancer, you don't need to be smoking weed. It gave me a sickness. I lost my appetite, I lost a lot of weight. My mind was always somewhere else, and it wasn't really present. You don't need it to be happy. And especially at this time now, when the whole world is starting to do it, that's how you know that no, we must do better. We must do better. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. The struggle is real. I'm in debt to my eyeballs. I'm a financial slave to the banks. And if you're in debt, you are also a financial slave to the banks. And when we're working our wage job, we're hardly getting paid anything. We're getting paid just enough to get by. And if we don't pay off our monthly payments at a certain time, we get hit with interest. And they're stealing from us. And they're raising taxes on us more and more. Not only that, the average person is in debt, but the government is in debt. The banks are completely separate from the government, from the people. And if the government is not getting enough money from the people, where does it need to go? It has to go to the banks. I was reading up on the Constitution earlier about George Washington, and he said a quote. All the founding fathers talk about this, and even Thomas Jefferson talks about how bad debt is. That debt is not. It's actually right here. I know I'm already at 26 minutes, so I'm just going to make it really quick. This is by Thomas Jefferson. He says, quote, I, however, place economy among the first and most important republican virtues, and public debt is as the greatest of dangers to be feared. Public debt. And what do we know about the public? That 95% of us are in debt. And we're taught to be in debt, to get credit. And then what do they tell us? Oh, you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life anyway. Why does it matter? That's BS. As the greatest of dangers to be feared. To preserve our independence, we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. I am for a government rigorously frugal and simple. Thomas Jefferson. And this is by Benjamin Franklin. He says, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. And you know what? The founding fathers, the United States of America was created as one nation under God. One nation under God. That only when God gets established through the government and the power gets put back into the hands of the people, and only until the people reach a virtuous state, we are capable of true freedom. Because when nations are corrupt and vicious, which is exactly where the world is right now, they have need of more masters, or they have more need of masters. And what have we learned about the Pharisees? That the Pharisees like to be called masters, and the Pharisees like to be called bosses, and the Pharisees like to tell people what to do. But we're not here to tell people what to do. We're here to create leaders. Because we are all created to create and to be free. And this is by John Adams. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Now going back to what George Washington said, and I'll end it right here. This is the introduction. I'll just read these 3 paragraphs. Adherence to the Spirit. And what do we learn about the Spirit? That the Spirit, God, the spiritual cosmic intelligence of this entire universe that permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of everything, has created all within itself, moves all within itself, and at the same time holds everything in its place. An intent of our Constitution was so important to our founding fathers that one of the first acts of the first Congress in 1789 was to pass the verbiage for the oath or affirmation of office in compliance with Article 11 of our Constitution. George Washington was administered the oath or affirmation of office as prescribed by Article 2, Section 1 on April 29, 1789, to which he added, and I quote, "So help me God," end quote. He then made a few brief remarks, and this is by George Washington. And he says, "I shall take my present leave, but not without restoring once more to the benign parent of the human race." And who is the benign parent of the human race? That is none other than God himself, our Father, God the Father, our Creator. And we serve no man, and we bow to no man, but to God, in humble supplication, that since he has been pleased to favor the American people with opportunities for deliberating in perfect tranquility and dispositions for deciding with unparalleled unanimity on a form of government for the security of their Union, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence were all created off of principle, and they all talk about the principles of living in unity with God. Let's continue. And he says, "And the advancement of their happiness, so his divine blessings may be equally conspicuous in the enlarged views, the temperate consultations, and the wise measures on which the success of this government must depend." Because the success of our nation, the success of our freedom, the success of our people living in true liberty and happiness depends upon living in unity with God. And Jesus the Messiah brought us a weapon, a sword and a shield. And that weapon is mind. New Thought Millennia. You were born to do amazing things, Creator, Co-Creator. God bless you. I love you. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Let's grow together. Let's continue our journey. Because one day you're going to be so needed that the world is not going to let you retire. Namaste.